Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Panelist.
And I am Anthony Kear. A pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia live on Kear Radio 95.9. Thank you for joining us. The program Focus on Liberia is live on Kear Radio every Saturday, 2 p.m. GMT in Liberia. Today, as always, we have some topics to discuss, and our panelists are comfortably seated to discuss these very important topics. Topic number one, we'll be looking at the Liberian Diaspora Summit currently taking place in Washington, D.C. That has been convened by the president. The Liberian man will say His Excellency, President Joseph Yemambuaka. I don't know why they can be going with that, but that is the culture, and I think I like it now. Maybe Dr. Joshua William will tell me what that is for. Also, we will be discussing President Buaka at the United Nations General Assembly. The president made a big news there. He made a big pronouncement. I don't know whether the president is trying to be bold, talking about $8.3 billion investment in about the next 5 years or so. I'm like, okay, Comrade Buaka is thinking and trying to get bold. Also on the menu, our sources in the CDC telling us something that, kind of hard to believe. They are saying, hey, this thing is sealed, this thing is dusted, and that the CDC will be picking Nimba County Senator Samuel Koga for 2029 VP on the CDC ticket. I'm like, really? I mean, this early? How could you just make the decision? But again, our inside source is saying, my man, I'm telling you, take it to the bank. I'm like, what bank? Akaros Grace Bank? Anyway, Dr. Joshua William is here. He's very good with his commentary. And the man, Michael Palmer, is also here. He's going to help us break this all down. And not forgetting another important topic, the Millennium Challenge Cooperation, that is the MCC, versus Liberia. A delegation of the MCC is in Liberia to meet with the Liberian government, and the delegation is there to assess, how they can make the decision. And usually, from what, and thank God, our resident economy is here to help us make this thing simple. This thing is in his DNA, and he's going to help us to make it simple. But the delegation is there to meet with the Liberian government to assess areas where, if they had to make some money available, where would the money go and how the implementation and all that will go on. Well, let us welcome the man, Manco Palmo, who will be the co-captain on this program. Mr. Palmo, welcome. How you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to a spirited discussion.
All right. Dr. George Wawillan is an educator and also a social and political commentator here at Focus on Liberia. Dad, as we were saying, Liberia, good morning here.
Good morning. Good morning.
How
It's great to be here. I've been away for a little bit, and I couldn't help but come by and join the team in celebrating Liberia through conversation, through suggestions, through projections about our country, its state of affairs, and the future. It's great to be here. Mr. Padmore, Mr. Kane, Mr. Walkway. It's really good to be here.
Dad, your perspective is almost like putting some sugar in the tea. And when we don't have it, the tea will not have taste. Also, here is Focus on Liberia, resident economy. The man, Tom. Tom, my man, how is Addis Ababa? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, and this is up and down. The sun is up in the morning, and then in the evening it starts to rain. So the weather is so unpredictable. But it's good to be on to contribute to the discussion. Hi to all of the panelists and hi to all of the listeners.
Great, Tom. We are happy to have you. So let us go into it and get started. And so, folks in Liberia on the radio, this is your program, Focus on Liberia. You heard our topics there. And we're going to start with the first topic on the menu, which is Liberian Diaspora Summit. So we are having a summit in Washington, D.C. President Joseph Yamambaka is the convener of the Diaspora Summit. The theme of the summit is Building the Future Together. They're talking about reconciliation, national healing, growth, and prosperity. Let me bring you in that I think I like the idea that we can have an annual summit of Liberians coming together, professionals, just about any Liberian with interest to come together, knowledge sharing according to the chairman of the summit. He said, look, we're here to debate, to agree and disagree. And at the end of the day, see how we can pull resources, skills, and everything together to move our country forward. And that this is something the Liberian government, through the office of the president, and also through the office of the diaspora, is fully behind. And I think I like that idea. What do you make of this?
Firstly, Anthony, great question. I think amongst the many initiatives this government is taking on is that of bringing the diaspora together as a partner in co-creating and reimagining the new Liberia and what needs to be put in place. What is happening, and I like the very theme of branding of the conference, is that it's going to be an annual event.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the president is going to be here every year, but the fact that it's an annual event, places us in a position where we're going to be having these discussions, and Liberians, we're great at wonderful discussions and suggestions, but also, unlike the UN, my hope is that this annual event, subsequent events, will be opportunities to assess the spoken word previously and where we are. So we'll be measuring benchmarks. It can and should not be a platform for yes, knowledge sharing, but also it shouldn't be a talk shop. We should be measuring advances we've made since the previous event. And so I'm happy that it's going to be an annual event. I was fortunate to have been one of the panelists on the education conversation yesterday. It was an humbling experience for me. We listened to the president. I think in all sincerity and fairness, I think he genuinely wants the diaspora involved. The challenge here is creating the structure to harness diaspora involvement and participation more effectively. Right now, the government is operating in silos. We do have a diaspora coordinator in the office of the president, but there's still an absence of an effective framework, not just directly with that office, but you have the inter-office framework that needs to coordination that needs to happen so that that office is able to speak with the diaspora and then filter the information to line ministries and agencies. I hear that there is some evolution in that regard taking place in the line ministries and agencies. And so we're happy that it is starting. And as diasporans, we have a responsibility to position ourselves in getting involved. And so, yes, we're a part of it. When I leave this show, I will be heading there for day 2 as well.
Mr. Asumana Padmo, is the summit, first of all, a great idea? And if it is, what are the things you like about it? And what are some things that maybe you would like to be looked at differently?
All right. So first, let me see if I understand your question. Is this summit a good idea, or is a summit a good idea? I guess that's why I need to get
this summit.
This summit is not a good idea. Mm-hmm. This summit is not a good idea. This summit was accepted, propelled, financed, attended by the Liberian government solely for political reasons. That's what this summit was about. When it comes to their approach to the Liberian government approach to this summit, it's solely a political issue. They want to be seen doing this. They want pictures taken. They want this message to go out that, oh, we are attempting to do this, and it's solely political. They've done none of the homework to make such a summit successful. They've done none of the communication, none of the networking to make such a summit successful. The only thing they've done is to push a political message, and that's what it will come out of this. Nothing other than that will come out of this. There will be no fruitful.
Michael, mm-hmm. If you look at the CDC administration, I don't have memory of a summit, a gathering of this level organized in this manner during the CDC time, involving diaspora Liberians to come together in a formal setting on a theme to discuss the future of Liberia. And from what I see, the office of the president and the government coordinated with this committee that is charged with the responsibility to organize this. They're being involved and they are attending. The president faces on he's the convener. So I think if you compare the CDC time and the Unity Party time, you must give this to them.
I refuse.
Okay, why?
I refuse to compare one bad government with another bad government and then give one bad government leverage over the other bad government. No, I refuse to do that. Okay, CDC, yes, CDC didn't. Every time CDC came to America, they would say, "Oh, we're having we're gonna do a town hall. We'll invite diaspora Liberian." And when you look at the feed, who would you see? You'll see a bunch of people with CDC beret,
Yeah.
right? Screaming, screaming, how you call it, Aluta and all the other craziness behind it. Yeah, and then you fast forward to this government. So this government does this in a more sophisticated way. That's the Unity Party. They do this. They do the same thing, but they're doing a more sophisticated.
Someone might think that this has changed, Marco. From
the doctor will wait. The doctor will wait. The doctor will wait.
Can we ask Mr. Padmore one simple
the doctor
question?
will wait.
yeah, that you ask a question, let him talk.
Yeah, all right.
The doctor will wait. Yes. The Unity Party does it in a more sophisticated way. Why is the president at this conference? The president has no reason to be at this conference.
He has a role, Michael. He's the convener. He's a convener.
What is that? I remember when I was growing up as a little boy in Liberia, Samuel Doe was the chief patron to all the events. What is that? What is the use of that? Is this man a businessman? No. Does he live in the diaspora? No. Give the technocrats the ability, the chance, the room to work. Those are the people that are supposed to be working in this conference. It's one thing for you to come, or even, or how you call it, or project a 5-minute welcome, maybe through Zoom or something, just as an encouragement to say, look, I applaud this. To go sit down over there the whole day for the president or Liberia to go sit down over there all day, looking at what? And then I see next to him, you get a first lady. Then next to him, you get a pro tem. Then you get Dara Stalon. You just go down the list of people. I'm like, what are these people doing at this conference? None of these people are business people. None of these people are technocrats. Give the technocrats the ability to work. And that's why when I say that this conference is nothing but a political gimmick, that's what, if you look on the Executive Mansion website this morning, go look there and see the pictures. There's nothing about technicality. There's nothing about what we're trying to achieve. All they are pushing there is that, wow, look at the president. Look at what the president is able to do. Look at who he is able to assemble. Look at the pictures of people that are coming.
Anyway, let me give Dr. Willen the chance to ask a question. Dad, go ahead, then we'll get to Tom.
Yeah, give Dr. Willen the chance. Let Dr. Willen talk.
So, some of us Liberians, not excluding other people around the world, we have a way of projecting for lack of a better word, our insecurities on others. So Michael is accusing President Boakai and the organization of this program as political. But would he say the same thing for Mr. Cummings going to West Point to go sit with people? Wasn't that political? Is that something Mr. Cummings would just do out of the personality of who he is? Wherever Mr. Cummings goes, every move he makes, it's political. There's nothing that a government does that isn't political. Everything they do is political. Everything is done for imagery. It's done sometimes with sincerity, but every undertaking by a government is political. Mr. Padmore. What I mean, in terms of the necessity or not, the president, who is the convener of the conference, his presence there was to show to Liberians that this is not just another shop, this is not just another event that Liberians are organizing. My government is behind it. And so he showed up. But you weren't present at the conference. The president did not spend the entire day there. He came, he spoke, and he left. We spent the rest of the day there. The senators came along with him. They too had their individual commitments. Once they found that the conference was being held, they came over, Senator Dillon and the Kanga. They showed up as leaders of the country. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You guys who are part of, Anthony, one of the things I don't like to see happen is for us to be bringing in, the previous government comparing and contrasting makes no sense. We should look forward. The UP government is in power today. It's possible that ANC could, I don't know how, but could take power next time around. Let's look forward. Let's not keep looking backwards. It doesn't help. CDC didn't do it. CDC did it. Doesn't matter at this point. What matters is that Liberians gathered in the hundreds to listen to what the president had to say, to set the basis. And Michael, you know that we Liberians, outside of government, have had our own events. In July, I spearheaded an educators conference here virtually. And the reason we were happy to be at that place was there was an opportunity to meet some of the very people we couldn't meet. We couldn't reach, like the Minister of Education. We couldn't meet her before. This was an opportunity to get some of those documents out to them. And so let's praise the government for the first step.
I thought you had a question for me, Dad.
No, sir. I put on my education hat.
All right. That thank you. Let me come to Tom. And Tom, I want you to look at it from the perspective of a technocrat. For you see economics in everything. And I think you well know that this one is a huge opportunity. Liberia diaspora population holds a lot in terms of potential, investment, and everything, skill set. I really like the idea, and I'm giving the United Party credit if they are not the progenitor of the idea, but the fact that they saw the significance of it and got involved, I give them credit for that. All right. So I want to hear from you. What is the potential? How can we make use of, because they say it's going to be an annual conference, it's going to be the yearly event. The idea, how do you see it? How can we make use of it to be able to contribute to our country, as citizens outside of our country?
Thank you very much, Anthony. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple of things that are happening here. The war is going through a kind of crisis right now, where every country is trying to look out for itself. Mm-hmm. That's why you saw international development aid, the US destroy USAID because they said they were spending too much money. UK, Germany, everyone is cutting down on international development aid. You also see the issue of tariff. Everyone is trying to raise money from international trade. You even see the US, I think they're trying to pass a law that says that if you hire someone from another country, you should be able to pay additional tax because you are not hiring an American. There's even issue around the H-1B visa, where the US used to give visa to people who are highly technical scientists and everyone else to come to the US to work. Essentially, what I'm saying is that we are in a point in time where every country should not depend on the other country for your survival and your development. You have to depend on yourself. And this is where the diaspora comes in. The diaspora is critical to Liberia's development, and their contribution needs to be channeled in a way that it supports real development in Liberia, because I think we have had shows on remittances. Mm-hmm. Every time you look at the central bank report, they give you numbers and figures about the remittances that go back into the country. But are they really channeled into sustainable development that can multiply and bring additional income? Or they are only going to be able to address welfare issues, school fee, when family member is sick, when somebody dies, and all of that? So that makes the diaspora at this point in time that we are trying to do things by ourselves. We are struggling to increase the national budget to $1 billion. That makes the diaspora contribution very critical. But the key question is, how do we harness it in a way that it supports development back home? And this is where I picked the word technocrats when Michael was speaking. Are the technocrats actually doing the work that will make sure that we have mechanisms in place to be able to harness this diaspora resource that we have, both in terms of human capacity, financial capacity, and other or additional values that it come with? Are we harnessing it to be able to use it better at home in Liberia? I also take a phrase or a sentence that Dr. Wah highlighted or said. They went to the conference because they could not have access to stakeholders in Liberia. So if the Minister of Education was available to them when they were organizing their conference, perhaps they would not be at the conference. But are we really taking the diaspora serious when they want to have meetings with us? We are not available. Only when we come to Washington, D.C. once a year on the sidelines of the UNGA, then we have meeting with them. That's not helpful, you know? So my point is, the technicians should be doing the work. The Ministry of Finance should see this as an additional means of raising revenue to be able to augment the domestic resources that we collect. How then do we do that? What are the mechanisms that are in place for us to be able to get the diaspora resources and direct it towards development? I think there's a Liberian who is coming up with an initiative. His name is, I think, Dr. Steve Yekesin.
Yeah.
He's trying to come up with an initiative where when people send remittances to Liberia, $1 is deducted. If you send maybe $100 to your family member in Liberia, $1 is deducted. It goes into an account, and that money can be used to provide maybe education, sanitation, and other things. Dwalu, who sits on Class Reloaded with them, he has had this initiative of going all around the states, putting people together to be able to form, I think, the Liberia Diaspora Investment Fund or something. This is where these stakeholders need to sit with these people. It's already initiated by your citizens in the diaspora. Why don't you sit with them and see how do we run these things as an organized program to be able to channel the resources to come to the country? I agree with you. The conference on an annual basis is good. And the president said it, I think, in his first State of the Nation address. So this is something they have delivered on. But go back to President Sirleaf. When she was president for 12 years, she had the town hall meetings in Philadelphia, in Washington, in other places. What did we get? We got nothing. Because we are not doing the heavy lifting in the background. What is the Ministry of Finance doing? What is the LRA doing through the tax regime? What is the Liberia Business Registry doing? To provide incentives to the diaspora to say, if you want to register your business, we have a special window for you. Come, we'll do it in 1 day instead of the 20 days that I offer for you. Other countries have issued diaspora bond. When Nigeria issued theirs in 2017, they raised up to 300 million. That has to be done by the Central Bank of Liberia. But the technical work is not done. We just go to conferences and then we go back.
Tom, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Tom, you have a point there. And that I agree with you that I like the idea of the annual conference so that every year Liberians in the diaspora can come together, and it should go beyond knowledge sharing. It should go beyond showing capacity in terms of financial resources and skill set. It should go beyond that. There has to be a coordinated framework put into place how to channel the resources and the expertise and skill sets to impactful project in Liberia. All right. So the government of Liberia should make it available. Don't say something, are they creating a window so that if a Liberian in the United States or any country outside of Liberia decides to go to Liberia and do a business, do they have a special office? Are they going to receive that Liberian and work with that Liberian without asking a penny for cold water? I spent almost 5 months at LTA trying to get my clearance. 5 months LTA. I'm talking about making effort every day. It took me 5 months to get a single clearance before I could get to a service provider called Orange to integrate Orange money into my business. 5 months. My integration was approved. A Liberian business integration was approved by Orange CEO. They said, but you have to go to your government LTA to get your clearance, then we'll do your integration. When I rushed there, I submitted all my credentials. The next day, when I went to follow, I said, no, your paper's not correct. I said, what do you mean? I brought them yesterday. And it took 5 months. I get it now. Why should it be like that? At some point I felt discouraged. So Tom has a point there. But let's get to Dr. O'Malley. Dr. O'Malley, you heard Pamo criticism, all right? And his critique, let me make it diplomatic. You heard his critique. Ellen Johnson Salitan, I remember when they were trying to look at the Constitution. They have all the towns all around, they put everything together. We're supposed to do a referendum and adopt a new Constitution. That thing, that I don't know where it's lying down. Maybe it's still at Governor Commission. So what do you make of this whole diaspora annual conference? How you think we can make use of such a conference to carry on development in Liberia?
Well, first of all, hello, are you getting me?
You are live and clear. Go ahead, sir.
First, I want to extend my greetings to fellow panelists. And I think each member of the panel has got a very valid point, and it's a normal occurrence. Sometimes we try to tell the direction we think we believe in, and we can rally around our concept. But what I see from the diaspora conference, I just want to be very clear here that probably I might be taking the side of Mr. Pambo, but I see that it is politically motivated, the conference, as I see it. And the idea is very brilliant. The modus operandi is very wrong. The message is great, but the messengers are the wrong messengers. You see, you will agree with me that we have EULA that's supposed to be spearheading so many activity on behalf and for the diaspora. Now my research tells me that we have, oh God, just 1 minute. And now my research tells me that we have 2 offices for the diaspora. Oh, I'm so sorry for the interruption. My research tells me that we have 2 offices for the diaspora. One is situated in His Excellency office, run by one Rasmus. Another is situated in the Foreign Ministry. Then we have EULA sitting down here running its own show. Now we have Dr. Don coming in now to run the diaspora conference. So defragmentation, I'm very sure, going to affect some of the very good ideas we have. If you went on the diaspora conference website, you see a Unity Party personality all over the place. So it has become the Unity Party stroke diaspora project. If I'm not part of the Unity Party, it becomes a problem. I start thinking otherwise. So the idea is good. We need a neutral body to be involved in this thing. For instance, it's true that the president can come and give blessing to these things. But if a neutral body is set up and the government is at the background supporting it rather than spearheading it, then the diaspora will be heading in a very good and right direction. But as it is now, it has become like a government project. So whatsoever Dr. Don is doing, I even called to the conference place there. There were this selected group of 600 people. Okay, that carried a different message. It gave me a very different feeling. So who are those 600 people limited to this conference? And at the same time, EULA was having its own program. So it's like I begin to think everything the panelists say here is very good. We need to get into business. We need to put our house in order to help the society in many different ways. But this cannot happen with such a fragmentation. So my suggestion would be, first, for the government to get all its functionality out of this thing, the website be organized, and the whole conference, we have student representation, women representation, the others representation, because in the package, we talk about peace and reconciliation. You can go sit down in Washington, okay, in comfort, and try to discuss peace and reconciliation for the people back home who are sitting somewhere and they are the target and the focus population. So my question now is, I'm one of the diaspora. No one has ever reached to me here. Who's supposed to reach to me, whether it's EULA or the diaspora conference or the two offices in Liberia? I think these are some of the complications. And as long we don't put the diaspora house in order to have one command structure so that we all can brainstorm and come up. When Mr. Kanner said, it's very good, but the house is divided. And I think the Unity Party has added to the division. And it has been politicized.
Thank you. You know, I too, I am not a fan of political showmanship. We have had that far too long, and usually there were the political involvement in activities like this would stop. I believe in a politics that uproots and that is bold and transformative. The politics of reform, but that's not what we see. It's always the politics of showmanship. Show up there and put your hand on and people clap for you. And then you feel that the job is done. And that is what our leaders, for the most part, continue to do. Especially Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did that so much. I know the Unity Party folks will disagree with me, but let's do something here. They have areas of focus. They're talking about investment. They're talking about education. They're talking about healthcare. They're talking about reconciliation and healing. And when you come to reconciliation and healing, I see that they're talking about war crimes court. And to you, the panelists, I want you to weigh in here. I feel strongly now the advocacy for war crimes court, reconciliation and healing, we lost that advocacy. And I feel that it's a waste of our time that they will go to Washington to be talking about reconciliation, war crime court, healing, and all that. We lost that. That time passed. We should be talking about economic development, how the diaspora can get involved, and so I want to hear from you, because we have the office now dedicated to the establishment of war crime court. Then you come to diaspora annual conference, you want a war crime court. Liberians have cried for war crime court from the very Unity Party for 12 years. They didn't give us a war crime court. Then you come for diaspora, then you tell them a war crime court. I mean, I think it's a waste of our time, because we're never ever going to get it. So the time we take to be talking about war crime court, we should be talking about some things else. Economic empowerment, that's why we should be the focus. Tom, I'm going to start with you on this.
Yeah, so that's a very critical issue right now. But before I come to the issue of the investment in the war crimes court, one other thing I wanted to add on the issue of the heavy lifting we need to do in the background is the issue of research. Mm-hmm. So if you follow the diaspora conference, the diaspora I think coordinator at the Ministry of State, he praised the Minister of Finance so much, thank him for providing the resources and the money. So if we are funding a conference, why don't we fund research? Quite recently, IMO, I think, advertised a term of reference. They are looking for consultants to do research on the diaspora, on what are the sectors that the diaspora, people in the diaspora are interested in investing in, so that it can inform the government to be able to do reforms to encourage the diaspora to invest back home. But my question is, why can't the government of Liberia herself fund that study? Why can't we pay for it? If we can pay for a diaspora conference, why can't we pay for the research? We have an entire institution at the Ministry of Commerce called LIMPA, I think Liberia Macroeconomic Policy Analysis or something. Why can't they do that research? You have deputy ministers for research across different government ministries, but nobody is able to even do a desk research as to how many people we got in the diaspora, but we can fund a conference. We cannot do the research. We don't know what their interest is. And you can't get all of that from a conference. It has to be a study. So these are things that we really need to pay attention to. So on the first thematic focus of the diaspora conference on investment, that's a good thing that the government is doing, because like I said initially, it will be us now who need to invest back home. Because this whole issue of the concession model of giving concessions to mining companies, we've done it for almost 70 years. It hasn't really taken us to a place where we are able to reduce poverty and to be able to improve the welfare of our people. So we need an entirely different model. And this is where the diaspora, the skills and everything they have comes in. The Minister of Foreign Affairs said that they are going to launch another mapping process of people in the diaspora. But every government has said this. Why can't they complete this mapping process? They're going to be doing it again until 2029. We cannot finish that. So coming back to your point, yes, on the investment side, it's something very good that we need to focus on. But again, we have to do the heavy lifting. We have to build a framework both on the financial side, on the sectoral side, to be able to tap into the resources that the diaspora has. Because here is a fundamental argument that I have. When dual citizenship was issued, all of us in the diaspora now, regardless of whether you left in 1990, you have regained your citizenship as a Liberian. And if you are a citizen of any country, then you also have a responsibility to contribute to the development of that country. So it's a bit unfair that people in the country are paying taxes and we in the diaspora will say, oh, we only send remittances. But the remittances are going to our family members. It's not going towards development like taxes are doing. So we need to do something to see how the diaspora can contribute. So investment is okay. War and economic crimes code, like you said, I'm not very sure where we are going from here, because we commended President Boakai for establishing the Office of the War and Economic Crimes Code through an executive order. But even the $2 million they said they were going to give to them, they've never given it to them. I think they've given $300,000. And right now, I think what the War and Economic Crimes Code Office is focusing on is more about establishing an anti-corruption code, which is what LACC is also working on. So the two institutions are clashing on who is actually going to establish the anti-corruption code. I think Councillor Gongolo recently even criticized them that what you need to focus on is the War and Economic Crimes Code. Because if you put the anti-corruption code ahead of the War and Economic Crimes Code, it's like your whole attention is shifted towards that side, and it further delays the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Code. And with the current regime we have in Washington, with their limited interest in supporting this kind of initiative, with the crisis the UN is in, I'm not very sure how far we can go with this War and Economic Crimes Code. So we need to set our priorities right to be able to move things forward.
Thank you. That the thematic areas, the focus.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's several areas like Thomas alluded to. That's economics, investment, that's education, that's health, psychosocial healing and reconciliation is major. We believe all of those areas are critical. There are over 500,000 Liberians spread across the country. In fact, Dr. Conte, who's our ambassador to Washington, provided a demographic display using our potentialities in terms of the youthfulness, the resources, the level of education, and he specifically zeroed in on Mr. Padmore's vicinity, Minnesota. He focused on Minnesota. But there are about 500,000 Liberians. But you're right, Thomas. One of the limitations we have is that the government hasn't been able to clearly map out the diaspora in terms of expertise, in terms of other critical areas for which the diaspora resources and partnership expertise could be leveraged. And this is where I think this conference becomes pivotal, that we can use this initial phase to look at frameworks. How do we want to engage? How does the government want to engage us? We're on the supply end. As an educator, during the COVID, Anthony. I ran a platform bringing together, educators from home, on the continent, and abroad to just see how they were getting along during COVID. What were they doing? What strategies were they doing? How could we learn from each other? And from that, my doctoral study was on remote instructional collaboration. How do we, instead of having to pack our bags and go home, we could be here and contribute to that process. We have access to resources that may not necessarily be present in the country, but we can share those resources. Expertise is shared. And so it's developing the framework. Unfortunately, there is a challenge on the home front, on the demand front. The home that's demanding diaspora contribution is not set up, not structured to coordinatedly receive all of this help they say they want. And so this conference, we're hoping, and we're going to continue to engage Dr. Dunn to ensure that focus ought to be on setting up structures that will assist. If Michael wants to invest in Liberia, who does he go to? What office does he talk to? To Mr. O'Malley's point, what the government has done, and so is that all the critical line ministries now have a diaspora desk. And the intent of that is to coordinate interagency activities around the diaspora. So yes, there's the lead coordinator at the ministry, at the executive mansion, but every other line agency will have a coordinator. Just like civil service seconds the human resource officer to the ministries, it's the same framework that's going to be used. Again, how that's going to be operationalized and effected to ensure that the diaspora is effectively engaged and leveraged is another thing. But, to that point, Thomas, there are about 500,000 Liberians out here. That's a lot of resources. It's a lot of resources. That's a lot of expertise. There are great partnerships that government can leverage if we even just, and that's just in the U.S. and Canada, over 500,000. The U.S. and Canada, not to talk about Europe, not to talk about Asia, not even Africa yet. And so imagine what 500,000 Liberians could do to our economy. Just even imagine if each of us were paying $1 out of that number. Each of us pay $1 to the country. That's 500,000 more than the government would have had. And so how they leverage the diaspora remains a concern, should remain the focus. What structures are put in place to ensure that we're not operating in silos? If Anthony wants to invest in Grand Cru, in agriculture, there has to be somewhere he can call and say, this is what my plan is, and he gets all the information he will need. And so we're hoping that's where we're going to get. We don't want to come back next year and have to start where we left off, holding these long conversations. We have to be looking at setting benchmarks on each of these meetings. And so, again, no government can initiate a process like this and it not be branded or conceived as political. It has to be, because it's driven by government. It has to be. You can't divorce government from politics. How could you do that? How would you do that? It's just difficult. But what remains to be seen is what the outcome of this initial process is. Then we can brand and consign and indict the government as being more political than practical. But this is a great initiative. Let's support it. If there are 500,000 Liberians out in the country of Mali, you're just one in the 500,000. Assume for all levels of probability that nobody's going to call you because nobody knows you. So you have to make yourself available. You have to come forward. You have to show up and add your voice to the conversation. And by this presence on this platform, you're adding your voice. Yeah.
And thank you, Dad. The era of investment, education, looking maybe infrastructure as well. Our government need to engage the diaspora annual conference. They need to define what we want to do. We can't put everything together at once. We are struggling with electricity issue. Roads is a big issue. Education is in the toilet. So the government need to identify areas where they want the diaspora to invest, and they should coordinate these initiatives in a way, and then pull out incentives also. The same way you can incentivize concessions in Liberia, and then they cheat our people, incentivize diaspora investment in Liberia, so that Liberians, can be able to use what they have to contribute to their country in a meaningful way. How can we contribute annually? Tom mentioned the Yakesin initiative through his organization. I interviewed him here. It's all good. And Tom might know more about the Ethiopian dam. I watched a video about it. I understand that, it was heavily funded by, the Ethiopian diaspora community. They contributed significantly to the Ethiopian dam. From what I watched, this thing here now, Ethiopia is selling corn to other countries in billions. Can you imagine that? I think it costs pretty close to billions of dollars to build that. Those kind of massive projects, government can decide how do we contribute to that. We're talking University of Liberia. How can the government come up with a program that, where Liberians in America can contribute to the University of Liberia? But they have to find a way and have to give that tax to the technocrat to do that. And then they allow the technocrat to carry on the implementation with the assistance of the government. But what I saw there, the diaspora office guy, Erasmus, you're praising the president, praising Gafwan. These people using our money. And you're just praising them all day. They're using your country money. We're paying them to do their work. And then you turn around, you praise them. I don't know, when was the last time he in Minnesota, he went to where his manager just praising him for doing his work, for which he get paid. So we got to gravitate from that. Let's focus on the tax. Michael, your final word on there. Let's focus on the areas that they are looking at.
I keep hearing people talking about, this is going to be an annual event. What is annual about this? Why should this be an annual event? This should be an everyday event. This cannot be an annual event. This annual conference should be a kickoff to an everyday event. Okay? So what does it mean? That so the people that attend the conference this year that want to engage the government, they need to wait till next year, September, to engage the government? No, this has to be an everyday event of what's happening. Now you say, we'll have today's the Liberian Diaspora Conference. We'll come in, we'll make suggestions, we'll set up an office, and then moving forward, this is how we're going to operate fine. This annual conference surrounding the UNGA is just let me ask you a question. How much is this conference costing? Does anybody here know?
No, we don't know.
Has the government even hinted how much it's costing? Forget about the conference. Just the fact that the UNGA is finished. The president remains in the country of the US. Every single day that the president remains here, how much is it costing?
How about the benefits?
Yomli or Delon or Beslow or the rest of the group, just the president alone, how many days is this costing? The conference hall they got, through which means, who deposited that money? How much did they come out with that money? I mean, look, who doing the catering? I bet you love behind who doing the catering? I wanna boycott niece that doing catering. Look, we are tired with this foolishness. The people don't want to do the right thing. They want to dress it up and present these things to us and want to pacify us. I understand the desire for people to reach out to every single leaf that the Union Party put out there because they want to effect change in Liberia so much that they continue to say, maybe this one will work. Maybe the other one will work. We are tired with that. We are completely tired with that. Where is the NIC boss? Why is he holding town hall meetings and engagement with business leaders all over the country? Where's the largest Liberian diaspora? Minnesota. Why is a conference being held in Washington, D.C.? What kind of craziness is that? This is when July 26th, we show the entire Liberian world that this is where it starts. Minnesota. They said we're going to have a thing in DC. If you're not lucky, stay to your Minnesota. We'll stay in Minnesota. We'll stay in Minnesota. That one will be it. The people are not ready. They are not ready at all. Okay? This, like I said before, I will end with this. This is nothing but another Unity Party flow show that they are doing just to make the president try to look good. Just how they did, just how they roll out the office of the war crimes court, just how they roll out this one and that one. And what did we see out of it? Nothing. This one. You and I will sit down here next year. I will ask you this question, Anthony. What has come out of this conference? And you will look at me and you will tell me, Mike, nothing came out of it.
Yeah, we hope this will not be another.
Yeah, I'm not hoping. I'm not hoping.
There will not be another World Crime Court office, access recovery. I don't know, access recovery. From the last time they came and we saw some of the members resigning and all that. We need to hold our leaders accountable. And what we're saying here is, look, you have to be intentional. And we are tired of people just showing up just for people to see them and pretend that they are working. We're tired. But these people are getting paid. And I really want to see a report at the end of the annual conference. How much money did the Liberian government put in this? How much money came from the IMMO? And I think they say UNDP is also contributing. I don't want somebody telling me, Gafwan, thank you. Gafwan, thank you. President Bwaka, thank you. No, you should be telling us how much the Liberian government spent. That's not their money. We want to know that. Dr. Mallett, you get the final word on this one.
Yes. As I said earlier, I think we are seeing things from different lenses on this platform today. But I'm also looking at the future of the diaspora. Okay? And one thing that is conspicuously missing from William's analysis is that a government-sponsored diaspora initiative in the open is not going nowhere. Not at all. I think what the government can do for us is to put the fragmented diaspora community together, saying the issue of transparency and accountability is affecting the diaspora community, especially the EULA coming down. Until the house is put in order, the government can be to the background and assess. But if the government have decided to be the player, the referee, that's a problem. And for instance, facilitator, the issue of war crime code, most of these things are Unity Party rescue project programs. Let the diaspora think for itself. Let the diaspora come up with a lot of programs. There are so many programs we need. For instance, the investment issue is one of the critical issues. But when you start bringing all these things that is part and parcel of the Unity Party rescue agenda, that's a different scenario. You see, the objective might not easily be achieved. As I said earlier, the idea is good, but government should get out of it. All right? The satellite offices William spoke about in Liberia, those satellite offices. These are all government satellite offices on taxpayer payroll. We don't need these things. Not at all. Because when Unity Party have symbolized this whole thing, and I see Unity Party hands all over these things, then I have different thoughts. If I come from the ANC, I might not support this thing. If I come from a different political party, I might not entertain this thing. If I'm in America and I belong to a different party or ordinary person, I might not even go there. Probably I don't like the Unity Party and its philosophy. So what we're saying, we need a neutral entity that will organize all these things and put all the fragmented fragmented diaspora community together. Then we can figure out our own conference with government support at the background. I think this is what we are saying. This is what we are saying. That's my suggestion. Other than that, we are heading nowhere. Because I learned, facilitator, I called to Liberia, and someone said about 200,000 was given for this conference. All right, I don't know how confirmed is that. And even the issue of 500,000 Liberians being in America, my organization wrote the embassy And we wanted for the embassy to give all the statistics of how many Liberians actually living in this country. How many Liberians have got high-end degree? How many Liberians even graduated from the embassy does not have even the statistics. So the 500 is an estimate. I even went to Pew Research Center, one of the larger research center grouping in America, to get Liberian statistics. It's not there. So these are all estimates. So at
Thank
the end
you.
of the day, I even wrote call Eula. I wanted
you,
to
Dan.
know, yes, about the estimate the 500 people to be confirmed, because we need a source when we are quoting this type of thing. Someone could challenge us. So we
Now
need to
go
be
to the Bureau of Statistics website.
Thank you,
Anthony,
Dan. Yeah, go
Anthony,
ahead,
can you
Tom.
give me 30 seconds? Yeah. So,
Please.
like I was saying, I think at the point where we are, where we have to care for ourselves, we have to be very strategic in terms of taking forward and in terms of doing things to be able to move Liberia forward. So I just wanted to read a sentence that the president read yesterday at the diaspora conference. And he said, and we must move beyond Morovia-focused decision-making and embrace decentralized participatory governance. This is why my administration is committed to fast-tracking constitutional reform, including decentralization, local government empowerment, and improved service delivery. But let's go to decentralization. When the president made his first inaugural speech, decentralization was mentioned. When he made his first State of the Nation address, decentralization was mentioned. But the law that needs to transform the Ministry of Internal Affairs to local government, it was already passed in the lower house. It is still stuck in the Senate, and they can't pass it because people are thinking about when the new ministry is created, whether their position is going to be there, whether they will stay maintain those who are there, or the president will do another reappointment. So that law is basically stuck there because of what individual interest about position. So if the president is very much interested in actually moving forward this issue of decentralized governance, then going to 2 years, he needs to make sure that that law leaves the parliament to reform that Ministry of Internal Affairs. In 2021, under the CDC administration, they passed a revenue sharing law that even the resources that are collected by county service centers, 40% of it needs to remain with the counties so that they can use it for service delivery. That revenue sharing formula law in its totality has not been implemented. The local government fiscal board that needs to be set up under the Local Government Act has not been set up. So if you are not implementing, the only part of the Local Government Act that has been implemented is the title of the people at the county who were changed. So the Assistant Minister for Fiscal Affairs is now called a finance officer. The Assistant Minister for Development is now called a development officer. That's the only nomenclature that has changed. But in terms of implementing decentralization by the mandate of the Local Government Act, it's not being done. The revenue sharing formula law, no progress on it. And then also the law that's supposed to create the Ministry of Local Government is not moving forward. So for me, like I'm saying, these nice speeches and the conferences that we have, they are important. But the technical work that needs to be done in the background is the one that is critical. And decentralization was identified as one of the peace-building initiatives in Liberia for reconciliation, to make people to have voice, for them to participate in the government. But we're not making much progress. So these are the bits and pieces that we really need to work on as a country, in addition to having these mega conferences across the globe. And if I can just conclude on this, I think our embassies need to play a critical role, like Dr. Mali was saying. So for instance, you have the bigger diaspora in the US. What is your embassy in the US doing to be able to attract investment from that diaspora pool that we have back home? The embassies all across the world, I think they also need to draw them in to play their role to be able to move this agenda forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And for me, I want to see that we are able to vote here. We can have a diaspora office and we can vote. I see Guineans are voting in Liberia.
Yeah.
Guineans are voting in Liberia during their election time. We are in the most sophisticated country on earth. We are the most highly documented group of Liberian citizens on planet Earth here in America, and yet we can vote. because our government does not give priority. They continue to violate our constitutional right. Americans in Liberia can vote during election time at the embassy. We can vote here. So let the Darasa office look into that. This coming election, we want to vote here too. All right, that will set us way into President Bwaka and delegation at the United Nations General Assembly. The president made some good news there, but big news there. I think the president is trying to think bigger. My problem with our leaders, they don't think big. You know, it's just the bare minimum. You can, you're honorable, you His Excellency, you get your big car, and then say, "How are you, boss man? How are you?" Yes, sir. And that's it. They get paid, and they sit down in the beach chair, and that's all they do. And you know, very few of them are trying to be robust and transformative. Now, I see our president at the United Nations saying, "Look, we're going to invest 8.3 billion in about the next 5 years in Liberia." I said, I like this. And on the sideline, I saw that he met with a leader from Kuwait, you know, talking about how they can find way to invest in Liberia, you know, and so this is a good thing. And another thing I really want to know, why is it our government not telling us how much they're spending on these trips? I really want to know. This is the change I want to see from the Unity Party government. When the CDC government traveled, when the president traveled, that time they didn't tell us how much it was costing. I want to know this government. The government should be a change government. I really want to know. You went to Japan, we don't know. You went to China, you didn't tell us. This is, maybe the third time coming to America now, we don't know the cost. And these delegations are always huge, 25, 40, 50. I really want to know. I want to go on the Immersion website and see this is the cost of the trip. I don't want to see a fake list. You bring in 40 people, then you put there 25. I don't want to see that. So let's talk about the UNGA. You have your ambassador here accredited to the United States. You have your permanent representative at the United Nations. And now you are on the United Nations Security Council. And now there's a UN meeting, and the president is leading the delegation, and he's coming. I mean, the cost. What are we going to achieve? Let's talk about that. Dr. William, talk to me. The UNGA, the president presence, the cost, the benefits. And, you know, when we are complaining about resources, even though LRA is telling us that they are generating record-breaking revenue, but then we are behind everything. Talk to me.
Well, Anthony, in all fairness, a lot of these trips, you know, from a personal perspective and an economic perspective, for me, are unnecessary. A lot of the times, the annual event is a talk shop. We hear the same appeals every year in, year out. You know, I listen to the president, I listen to other presidents, and for as long as I can remember, the conversation has generally been about the inequality as far as global decision making is concerned. Until in recent years, we've started to see heightened appeals for a greater voice, especially of Africa. You know, we still do not have a permanent seat, which tells me we shouldn't even be attending. I think the AU need to reposition itself and say, we are no more gracing the annual event until certain things are done. Could they do that? Can they do that? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I am happy to see that at long last, there is a stance on the Gaza situation. I'm happy about the pronouncement that Palestine will now be recognized as a state of its own. But holistically, I think our government is investing in these delegations, investing way more than they ought to. I don't think it does us much good with the number of people we bring to these events. For an annual event that has yielded very little, I think the representation ought to be smaller. I don't think our president, especially at his age, need to be placed on the wear and tear on this 80-year-old man is enormous. You know, all these many trips need to be curtailed. Let the old man stay home a little more. Let him reserve the bit of energy that he has. Coming out here, is expending not just resources from the country, but also his physical reserve. He's depleting it. Even us who are the young people, I couldn't travel as many times as I hear the president travel, and I feel for him. So that's my initial comment. I don't think government should be investing and releasing as much as they are under the situation, because the UN General Assembly isn't giving us as much as we invest in at this point.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. We're talking about the UNGA, our delegation, the president, big pronouncement, 8.3 billion investment in about 5 years. And,
I don't know how that message comes across as a big announcement, because it's in the AAID. It's just the overall cost of the AAID. So when the AAID was done, it was costed at I think 8.2 billion. And that's where the government said that development partners were going to pay 30% of it. And we all criticized them for doing that. So because this is the first UNGA after the AAID was finalized in 2024, that's just what the president is saying, that we have a national development plan. It's called AAID, and it's going to be an investment of $8.2 billion over the next 5 years, which is a projection. Because if we are not able to generate enough domestic revenue, we might not even be able to hit the $8.2 billion in 5 years. So that's why we need to really push with domestic resource mobilization with the little we get from partners that are still helping us to meet that target. And he also mentioned that amount on a side event.
My problem with that is, so we are a beggar nation, a begging nation, and you come to your usual place of begging, and now you're telling the people about 8.3 billion, right? I don't know what is the goal there to show that, look, we're doing good now, we're getting strong. And so if you want to give us something, you better give us something big, because we are able to generate billions on that. I don't understand what's the goal. I thought the message should be, look, this is where we've come as a people. These are the things that we are doing. These are the areas, we want to collaborate. But to call the big figure, to project that, this government, I'm trying to get in the mind of the president and the government, what is the significance of that? Because that was the emphasis.
Okay.
So happy, yeah.
So it's a begging strategy. But before you beg, you have to do your homework. So since the 1990s, countries have been developing this national development plan, and it comes from way back when you had a Soviet Union. They used to do all of this national planning, So when developing countries were going through the HIPC initiative, where their debt was being waived, the IMF and World Bank and other institutions told them, okay, if you want your debt to be waived, you have to develop a plan.
Don't do this to us, internet.
So that's where the poverty reduction strategy came from. So after graduating from the poverty reduction strategy, countries start to do this national development plan. In much more advanced countries in Africa, like Ethiopia, Uganda, Ghana, at every point in time, they have a 10-year development plan, and then they will call it into five-year development plan. So that's not something new. So we've developed it, because the way aid works also is that aid is to align with your national priorities. So when you develop the 5-year development plan, it then serves as the instrument for your national development. So even when partners are coming, they look in your national development plan to say, okay, on governance, what is it that Liberia wants to do? On economic empowerment, on economic transformation. So it's basically what we did. And it's a follow-on to the agenda for transformation which was the first series, and then we went to the PADP, and then we came to this one. So it's basically saying, okay, here is the plan we have developed. It's 8.2 billion. So you want to get our money so we can help ourselves to be able to move forward. So to me, I don't see it as a big news.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that there was this side event on women economic empowerment, and he also even put it in our chat room where the media is taking it now, saying to putting up or statements like the president said he was going to spend $8.2 billion on women economic empowerment or the empowerment of women. That's the overall envelope of the AID. So on the UNGA, to me, I think it's an annual event where governments will have to come to. And it's a platform where you come, you make a case and all of that. And like Dr. Wai was saying, you see these African leaders, we are raising the same issue over and over. So it's time for them to actually take action. I think the president of Kenya was saying that Africa wants to establish her own monetary fund, just like an IMF type. They said they want to establish their own rating agency, which they are very close to finalizing now. Africa wants to establish our own central bank to have a single currency to reduce our dependence on foreign currency for trading. So I think after this many years of going to the UNGA to just make speeches, it's time for Africa to start taking action. Because even when you look at the message that our president read, all of them are criticizing the international financial architecture. But again, when you don't have any alternative, you can't do anything. That's why other regions like China are creating their own banks and all of that. So I think it's an annual event where they have to go to. Some countries, the president doesn't go, like the president of Nigeria was not there. I don't know what was the reason, but the vice president was the one representing them. But I think for us, we always do have big delegations. So I think it's just something that is used to our governance system.
And Tom, we have to change that. We have to change that. Michael, you are muted then.
Sorry, I was actually taking notes. As we're going along. So it's just mind blowing to me. Like I'm totally puzzled. Okay, how do you state such a figure and just leave it hanging in the air? 8 billion, right? Even the government, the national government, the entire government structure. If you multiply it times 5, and I read 8 billion. So then how are we supposed to impact women and children of 8 billion? Let's assume what Thomas said, was the plan or was the idea behind it. It's a platform from which, they will go seeking aid. Right now, where are you getting 8 billion aid from? Where? Because definitely not from the US in the next 5 years. Donald Trump not giving nobody money, any billion anywhere. So why are you going to seek this money? Why are you going to seek this? Look, it sounds good. Once again, we'll have something from the United Party government that sounds good, right? The government is going to focus on the welfare of women and children. Sounds excellent. I support it 100%. For somebody who has, unfortunately, buried a lot of Liberian children, I embrace the idea. No plan, no process, no vision, just money. This is what we're going to spend. How? Where? In what aspect? Front heavy? Back heavy? What is this thing that we are doing? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody. And when you ask questions, then you get pushback. You come across as being hateful, as being anti-government, as being anti-Joe Boyka, as being anti-Unity Party. Just because you're asking questions. How do we plan on doing this? Who are we targeting? What exactly are we targeting? Have we taken into account the number of babies that will be born in those 5 years? Are we talking about the babies now? When we say babies, from what age to what age are we speaking of? There's so many, and when you ask questions, you get pushback. So then what it does, it makes people like me don't even want to ask questions. We just look at it and calling the figures. But where are you getting 8 billion? Why do you need 8 billion? How did they come up with 8 billion? We're back to the 285 machine. How did they come up with 8 billion? What was the study done that gave them that information that we need 8 billion in 5 years? Nobody can give you that answer. But we need to cheer because the government said they are going to spend 8 billion in 5 years on women and children. I'm done with that. Like I said with the other topic, I'm done cheering for Unity Party just because they bring up good rating or just words. Show me something. When I ask you questions, give me answers. Give me information. I like how Dr. Williams, Dr. Mallow was saying something. He said, look, Dr. Mallow, that information is on the Bureau of Statistics website. Perfect. Guess when we're talking, guess what? I went Dr. Williams on the Bureau of Statistics website to go look. You know what I'm trying to say? This is what I'm talking about. I should be able to go on the Ministry of Health website to see. Say, look, these are the studies that were done. This is where they were done. These are when they were done. This is the information we got back from the studies. Based on those studies, based on our calculations, this is what we need. This is how we need it. This is how it's going to impact Liberian women and children. And this is what they are going to get out of it. This is how it's going to improve the country. Look, when you start to sell things like that, then you start to win people all over. Then we start to make phone calls. Then we start talking to people and say, look, other than 8 billion, how much can the diaspora raise in 5 years? How can we extract that money from the diaspora? If you got 500,000 people, right, with a disposable income of $1 billion a year, when you sit down and you take, and people ask me, oh, where you get that money from? Talking about diaspora Liberian get $1 billion a year. When you just look at the money we can spend on McDonald's on our children, would have just go through the drive-through of McDonald's. When you start to calculate that money, it's over $1 billion that we spend every year. Yes, I can. Me and my children will sacrifice a couple of trips to McDonald's, okay, a couple of chicken McNugget and Burger King and other things for our country. We will do that. But how? Give us more information than that. Give us something tangible. That when we're making those sacrifices, we know it's for a good point. And that's where I come from. And people see it like it's anti-government or it's an attack against Joseph Boyka. No. But this is like, look, America has taught me a lot when it comes to thought process. Okay? And this is what I'm trying to exercise here. Thought process. Give us information. We don't have it. You hear answering, you don't know. Nobody told you. And I bet you go ask, you'll get pushback. 8 billion. Is it possible? Yes. What's the process?
Well, Tom answer that question. This is the government national development for the next 5. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I think 1 second, Michael. I think the points that you are raising, they are valid, but this information is actually in the public. When the government was developing the arrest agenda for inclusive development, they had these consultations. Yeah, I think they said they also had some town hall meetings with the diaspora. I don't know how extensive those ones were, but it took them almost 1 year. People even criticized them that they did not have a national development plan. They took over in 2024. I think it was in early 2025 that they launched it in Buchanan. But I agree with the point that you are making. When the plan is also developed, you need to sell the plan. And this is where the problem is. It's on the Ministry of Finance website, but do people even know about what the AAID and what is in there? I see they started some town hall meeting. They had the first one to the ministerial complex. The second one they just had in San Nicolas. But they need to educate the citizen more so that we can take it as a national document that we all can be able to invest in. But on the costing, that's how normally it's done. You develop the plan, and then there's a process of costing that you go through. You say we want to increase the number of maybe hand pumps by 1,000. How much does it cost to build one hand pump? And then they do all of that costing. They pull it together. It came to the 8.3 billion. And the 8.2 billion, is our own domestic revenue, because last year our budget was 730 some more. This one here is 880. So if we are even able to push the budget to 1 billion in the next 4 years, then we can be able to get close to that amount. And we are still getting aid. The EU giving us aid, Japan and other people are still giving us aid. So it's not that 800 billion, the 8 billion is aid. The 8 billion is a combination of all of our national resources plus what we will get that will go through the budget process over the next 5 years.
Thomas, out of the 800 billion, the 800 million, not billion, the 800 million, how much is it is actually for development? How much is it is actually for infrastructure? 9%? Come on now, let's be real here. So salary, distance salary, government salary, now that part of the development? Come on now, let's be real here. And that's what I'm saying to you. It sounds good, and I like the fact that you jump on it. I understand where you are coming from. I understand totally where you are coming from. But let's be real here. You really want that money, eh? Why isn't the NIC boss in the US holding town hall meetings from one Liberian enclave to another Liberian enclave? Why isn't he getting together with EULA and other Liberian organizations to hold these meetings and actually say, like you say, they have to sell it. You have an obligation to sell your idea. Why aren't you selling your idea to us? And then we're asking questions, and then you're breaking it down to us in that level. If you do that, the diaspora, we're not even talking about government budget, because I think that's also recurring expenses, real money, real cash, real investment cash. It will come from right here that we can accomplish those things. We have the money. It is scattered. It is not organized. It is not together. Yes, I totally agree with that. And that is a homework we have to do. But we have that money. But when you say they will get it, come on now, from government, come on. Really? No, man. Tom, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Dr. O'Malley?
Dr. O'Malley will agree with me. Let's go on. Let's go on to the next topic.
Well, I think I sympathize with our host and Dr. Williams about the usage and the type of delegation that come to the United States, or let's say elsewhere. But let us not forget one thing. Article 50 and 53 will tell you more about the presidential power. It also constitutes the power of the president, and it's customary from government to government. People carry large delegation. This is how sometimes they get some money to move around. You know, they carry the large delegation with a huge budget. And it is by the president's description how many people should go. It's a normal ritual. All presidents do these things. But I will agree with the host because, one, is the president putting the country into perspective? A very poor country. Is he looking at some of the tabletop issue? Is water readily available for the people to drink? You know, so it's like, I think government have come to the conclusion that the people been living like this, so there's no need to keep investing in them. We also got to invest in ourselves. I think that's the theory, that's the concept that is moving now in Africa. So I agree with you. If we're not putting the country into perspective, in line with how we spend, it becomes a problem. But there's another school of thought. So, okay, when they do all the cutting down, the money stay, other people steal the money through investment. So then why can't we use it to go on our trip? You see? So there's a whole funny argument. But let's come to the $8.3 billion analysis. My question here is that people are employing the president. Okay, this is how the president, this is how he sees it. And I know he and his lieutenant, they work around this thing. But the question now is, every government should have a strategic priority. Is this our priority right now? The gender issue? Or they try to sell an idea to the international community for more money? Should our priority be how do we feel ourselves right now to reduce the tension in the system? Because more tension is in society because people can't find food to eat. You see? Or the food is there, but people are paying more. So was that our priority? That's the question I've been asking myself. Then the next thing now is this United Nations conference is an annual ritual. People go there, it's like to present report card. His Excellency, the President of the United States, gave a whole long list of what he will not be doing, but what he has done. All right? So he wanted for people to hear that. But for us, we are third world country. So we make presentation in line of magnetizing or creating a sympathy system for people to get up money. So the issue now is the 8 billion. Is that our strategic point? That one. Two, I think in project management, from what I learned and what I was told, is that sometimes you look at whence we came, where are we going? You see? So Donald Trump was on whence we come, and that continued the project, the progress he was telling those people in there. You see? Because all the leaders that went to the United Nations, they're not all equal. No, all the presidents there, they're not all equal. They are equal in different parameters. So my question now is, was that our priority? I think our priority should have been at least the drugs thing that is actually causing problem in Liberia, to call for help, to help us with the drugs thing from outside. We need outside help with the drugs thing. All right. So when the president put for 8.3 billion, and the president is not even concerned about putting corruption under control, the judiciary is corrupt. All right. The asset recovery, we need help with all of those things. So the question now is, I can't send money to Liberia because I noticed corruption is not under control yet. And so there's the possibility for corruption to even swallow the little money I have to send to Liberia. You see? So I was concerned, is that 8.3 billion government priority for now? That was my real concern. And the answer is no.
Thank you,
But
Dr.
Anthony,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? What do you
Please.
mean when you say 8.3 billion, whether that the government priority? I don't understand what you mean. That is the cost of the national development plan for the next 5 years. So what is your question?
Fine. Do you know that the $8.3 million was supported by a single line, gender?
No, that's why I'm saying it. One second. It is the media that reported it that way. The president said that we have developed a national development plan for $8.2 billion for the next 5 years. And portion of those resources will be used to empower women, girls, and people with our vulnerable population. And when we talk about gender, it's not only about women. Gender also has to do with people who are vulnerable in our society, people with disability, even the drug addicts, and everybody. They are part of that category of gender. So the president is not saying that $8.2 billion is going to gender. If it goes to gender, then what do we do on the military side? That's the overall envelope for the national development plan. But portion is going towards gender.
Well, I'm not too sure whether portion is going towards gender. I listen to
But it's in the plan. It's in the plan.
Dr. O'Malley, Tom is right. The entire cost of the government national development plan for the next 5 years, the total cost is $8.3 billion. That's what they're going to invest on the plan. All right. And according to Dr. Clarence R. Pearson here, he said, Tom, the president mentioned the figure in the thematic section. That's why the audience was confused about the 8.3 billion. He should have extracted the cost from the thematic section. So the government wrote a development plan. Tom explained yet the launcher in Buchanan. I remember that when they did so, and they say it will cost them 8.3 billion. All right, in a period of 5 years, and it's about all the sectors in government. And Pearson is saying it's the way the president spoke about it. He could have said for the 5 years, you understand, our development plan, we're going to invest this amount, or this is the cost of our development plan over the past 5 years. But when you are mentioning some of the thematic area in passing, that's how he meant. So it appeared people understood it to mean that he was talking about gender issue and other things specifically. All right, and not
Anthony,
the
it was
entire.
the media. It was the media that reported it that way. Go
Oh,
to
okay.
Front Page African article. They make it clear. The cost of the AID is $8.3 billion or $8.2 billion, whatever the figure is. And portion of those resources will be spent on gender-related issues. Understand that the president, he did not mention the $8.2 or $3 billion in the UNGA speech. It was a side event on women empowerment. So that's why he said this is what we have for the next 5 years, and portion of it will go towards the what? Towards empowering women and girls. That it was in that speech that he even said that there is a plan now to ban female genital mutilation, to ban it completely, because we have only had suspension of the Bush school. It was in that same speech. It is the media, read all of the articles, Daily Observer and all of the other media entity, they just put the headline that the president said he was going to spend $8.2 billion on gender. But the issue is, that's all the money that we have, and we put it towards gender, then it means we can't build any road, we can't build any school, we can't do anything else.
Thanks, Tom. I agree with your explanation.
Host, just a minute now. You see, when you go at the United Nations, you got to be very circumspect. Where you're saying that you are speaking to the world, you are even speaking to your own population. All right. So when you do presentation and you leave doubt in the minds of your population, it becomes a problem. You see. So if the president single-handedly just brought in the gender issue, fine. But I don't think it was necessary. No, not at all.
Thank you, Dr. Omane.
Yes.
Thank you.
At all. I don't think that portion was necessary.
Thank you. Your point is made. We have two issues to deal with before we leave, and we have 30 minutes, so let's get to them quickly. Tom, I'm going to start with you on the Millennium Challenge Corporation visitation to Liberia. I'm sure you might have followed this. Help us understand, Liberia, I think, passed 2 times now in a row. And now we have been expecting this MCC grant. And now we see that a delegation is in Liberia to meet with the Liberian government. What is the goal here? And, people are hoping that, well, at long last, maybe we'll get some money this time. Please break this down for us.
Yeah, so this is a process and it is still ongoing. So the MCC was established a couple of years ago to change the aid modality of the government or the US government. Because the USAID, for instance, is older than MCC. And under USAID, they provide the resources, they have country offices, and then they invest in different sectors. I think it was President Bush that established the MCC, and the MCC is aid that is given to you, but you have to meet certain criteria before the resources are given to you. So the MCC has indicators in different sectors, in political governance, in investing in your people, which is education, health, and all of that. And those indicators that the MCC can use to measure the reform and the performance of countries is not their own indicator. These are all secondary indicators. Some of the indicators belong to the World Bank, some to the IMF, some to institutions that work on human rights, like Human Rights Watch. So the way it's organized is that you have to pass. That's why every year the scorecard comes up. The same way when you go to school at the end of the school year, they give you a scorecard or they give you a grade sheet to say in English, you score 75. In mathematics, you score 60. So that's why the MCC does. So every year they will put a scorecard out. And for you to be considered for the grant, you have to pass that scorecard. I think there are 20 indicators. You have to pass, I think, either 10 or 12. Consistently for 5 years. So when you pass for 5 years, then you can be considered for a grant. So when we got our first grant around 2015, 2016, we failed for a couple of years. But in a series, by 2023 onto 2024, we actually met those 5 years. We passed the scorecard more than half for consistently of 5 years. So that's where the whole issue of the second compact started to come into discussion. But then when President Trump took over, USAID was gutted. And then the MCC also, there was some consideration that we were going to shut it down. but they did not shut the MCC down. But what happened was that they paused all of what MCC was doing. So that's where you saw people saying that, oh, Liberia is no longer going to get the money and all of that. Eventually, the MCC came back and they re-engaged. They re-engaged, but this year we were not fortunate to be given the green light to develop the compact. But our eligibility was actually announced, I think, in 2024. After that, it was put to a pause. And then when the review was done, the US government re-engaged. So the point where Liberia is now, they are saying that the next board meeting for MCC takes place in December. And it will be in December that they will reaffirm. That means they earlier affirm our eligibility. When you become eligible, then you develop the compact. The compact is actually the project document that you develop now to say, if you give us this money, we are going to pull it in roads, we're going to pull it in electricity, we're going to pull it in girls' education. That compact document is what Liberia should have started developing in 2024, but we were put on pause because of the review. So before the meeting takes place in December, the US government has sent a team now to go and do some engagement with the government of Liberia to be able to identify potentially if the grant is given to Liberia, where it will be invested. But the process that is going on now is a little different from what happened in the past, because the position of the US government now is that they are moving towards trade and not aid. So I think they are more interested in sectors where US businesses can be able to invest in Liberia that can be catalyzed by the MCC grant. So that's why they have a team in Monrovia right now. They started their engagement. If you follow social media, I think they've already met with LACC. They met with the Economic Zone Authority. They met with LERTR. So they are meeting all stakeholders across different sectors with civil society and private sector. In the end, they will come up with a document that will say these are the constraints to growth that we see in Liberia. In 2013, when they did the first one, the constraints that we had were electricity and roads. So that's why you saw all these governments over the years have been focusing on electricity and road. The other challenge we had was access to finance. So they're actually revalidating that constraint analysis to come up with a new one. And then when the December meeting takes place and our eligibility is reaffirmed, then we will now move to the point of developing the compact and the resources will come. But the resources, even if when we get selected, it's going to be either 2026 or maybe early 2027 when the actual resources will arrive for the implementation of programs in Liberia.
Thank you. You know, given the place we are in national development, and since the war, when the first government was elected and inaugurated in 2006, almost 20 years later now, we have not been able to solve a single problem. Education, we are beyond challenge. Roads, we are having issues. Electricity is a challenge. It's not stable in Monrovia. And all of these things that I mentioned, even in Monrovia, we are challenged. And so any penny we can get from anybody, it can be of help. But I think we should have to focus more on ourselves, what we can do, because these, grants and aid money, when I go to Monrovia, I just see the signboards, of these projects. And, I'm not saying they don't help, but are they actually helping us less? And if we are investing in ourselves and finding resources, we'll be able to do more. We continue to hear the good news about Burkina Faso. I don't know how true is that. And I'm hearing that they're not aid. This is their own resources they are tapping into and generating billions and investing billions in their people. Maybe we need to look at that more. And maybe when we do that, these people will come and help us. But let's leave it there. I'm not a fan of the millennium thing. So let's come to politics. Tom have already explained it to us. They are there to assess whether they will give her the money or they will not give her the money and where the money will go. So they want to see the areas we really need this money. And I'm sure they will give us the money. And the finance minister was so excited for us to have MCC. And, I wish you were talking with the superintendents, how for us to nationalize our gold mines and be able to raise billions from those gold mines and diamond mines. And, but that is not the case. It's the usual thing. Beg from, foreigners and all that. And then the money remain in the pocket. Gentlemen.
Folks, can you give me 30 seconds?
All right. Let me do justice. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom, for your analysis. But here is the thing. I wanted to be fair against the baking syndrome. And I'm against it for two reasons. It is helping to facilitate and consolidate corruption in the African nations. To be very frank with you, it makes you lazy. It puts you in a position where you become very insensitive to your own growth and development. At the end of the day, it's a fallback money you take, you start using all over the place. So we need now to be in the direction of how do we manage our own resources and cut this begging syndrome away, because it's adding to too many problems in Africa, especially Liberia. Because if you keep sending me money, if I'm getting revenue from the port, I can do something else with it. I can steal it. I can do a whole lot of things with it because we get extra help coming from here. It's like you, your wife, and children. You see, if you create that condition in a home where the children are lazy and ma always washing the dishes and she doing everything for them, it affects them when they move and begin to transition into man or womanhood. So we need to cut these things down. But I see now it has become a habit. It's a real habit now in Africa.
And that Tamale farm point there. And we really need to move away from these people and find. And Tom, it's like all our final ministers, what you hear them talk about more, how to get money from IMF, how to get money from the World Bank, MCC. We have domestic revenue generation opportunities. How are they trying to make these other sources of revenue domestically viable and attract investors to those sectors for to increase our revenue envelope? Other than what the people get money sitting there, area, let's go and get it. How many people are generating these funds anyway? And so I know something strong you've been talking about. Let me give that to Williams. Tom, you want to go ahead?
No, just to mention that I was just explaining the MCC process. I want for him to make it look like
you are strong. The local economy. Do you understand? We have the NPA, we have LRA. All right, we have. The economy of Liberia. How do we, really increase our capacity in the local sectors to generate more money? We just hear big area of agriculture, but there's also salary they can put in the agriculture sector. No necessary investment. Tourism is another aspect of Ethiopia where you are. Ethiopia is generating billions.
Yes.
Anthony, even real
the past 18 years,
real estate taxes across the country. Real estate taxes, with the level of corruption going on in the country, real estate taxes is a very viable angle from which to increase revenue, domestic revenue generation. A lot of the folks who own those enormous buildings, first thing is real estate valuation in the country is faulty. It's mainly left to owners of properties to determine the value of their structures. So first of all, we need to find a effective mechanism to objectively and effectively evaluate the cost of those structures, to impute taxes, and create an effective system to generate that money. But there are many other ways. The domestic, and I agree with you, Dr. Melly, that I'm not a big fan of borrowing. I'm not a big fan. It contributes a lot to corruption, because when you got your little $100 in your pocket, you got to pay school fees, pay the house rent and stuff like that. You're not going to mess around with the balance just distributing it in ways it shouldn't be. But because we know there are places we can go and borrow and not be held so much accountable, so much so that, like they say, government's continuity is the next government's problem, how that money is paid. It's contributing to some of the inefficiencies, fiscal discipline that we have. If we were more disciplined, these large delegations will cut down. The number of many foreign trips will cut down, and will be more restricted in terms of how we, utilize the little revenue that we have.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
I want maybe last for you to talk about how we can generate. Why are the potential there for us in terms of generating revenue domestically? And I think that our emphasis should be. But let me give Michael. He always have a perspective there. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. So when I like to always, you always hear me refer to when I was a little boy. When I was a little boy coming up, we used to have the Free Zone Authority. I think you guys can remember. Mm-hmm. Okay, the thought process behind that was designate a particular area. You can come, you can build your industry, you can build your factory. We'll give you tax-free, right, for a certain period of time. But you are bringing investment to the country. What are our issues right now when it comes to investment in Liberia? Electricity, pipe-borne water, security, road. Those are the 4 things that we struggle with. Okay? I heard the government talking about some sort of free zone, yada, 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 even from the last government. What has that come to? Okay? If you are thinking about something like that, designate an area. You let LEC know. LEC, that particular area, before the current go there, current go to the mansion first. You let water and sewer know. I want pipe-borne water to that area 24/7. You let your security forces know. We need that area secured. We want foreigners to feel okay. If you go to Jamaica, you hear people say, "Oh, I went to a trip in Jamaica." There's Jamaica within Jamaica. Okay? There's the place where the tourists go. The place where tourism happens in Jamaica is different from where the Jamaicans live. But they accept it because it brings needed revenue into the country. So if a foreign investment industry wants to come into the country, they have no issue with electricity because where they're going to place the factory is going to have 24/7 electricity. They will have no issue with running water because where they are going to place the industry is going to have running water. It's going to have security. Look, there's simple ways of doing these things. Simple ways. Just once more recreate a free zone area. Put it in wet plains. It doesn't have to be in Maria. Put it in wet plains next to the hydro. You get a hydro there. You get that water is what get the mean water what you call treatment plant. You right next door, run it right there, and create that area and see what the factories won't come. That's how you create factories in Liberia. You don't have to solve a national problem before factories come. You designate, then the money you get from there, then you start spreading that out to the community. That's how you go about it. That's how you bring industry in Liberia. You think they will listen? No, they're not listening. Because you know why they won't listen, Anthony?
No.
Because it won't mean anything to them. What are they getting out of it? When we do that, what are we getting out of it? They're not getting anything. And because they're not getting anything, they won't listen to you. But that's people post I'm very pessimistic. I get tired of that all. But that's how you bring industry into the country. You solve that problem. So nobody will tell me, say, our problem is light. Our problem is water. No, you can solve that problem in 6 months.
Thank you. And that this thing, if you look at Firestone has, electricity, and they have water running, especially in the beach shacks area, throughout. I mean, why can we not do that? Tom, we're talking about, generating revenue domestically, instead of relying on these institutions always and begging. How do we do it? Quickly, before we go to the cause. James, get ready.
Yeah, just quickly. So I think the argument about aid and all of that, we are already there. money is no longer flowing to Africa as it used to flow today. So this is a continent-wide initiative. The continent is thinking how to reposition themselves, and this is where other countries are now even changing their rules and regulations. Like for instance, DR Congo just recently, I think, banned the export of cobalt, or one of the minerals they have, to be able to make sure that value can be added to it in their country before it leaves their country. So there's a lot that we need to do on the policy side. Botswana, for instance, have taken 50% stake in the diamond company that was in their country because they think they need more from it. But we are still like signing concessions and say, give us royalties, you know? So even our concession mechanisms that we have, how do we change it? Like in the oil sector now, we're doing a production sharing contract. Like you produce and then we share with you. Can we do that in the iron ore and other places? Can we apply something new to the upcoming extension of the Metasteel agreement? So these are things that we need to think on when aid is actually going down. I think Africa is now trying to even organize a group of countries that have rare earth minerals, so that instead of negotiating as individual countries, they can negotiate as a bloc. So we have a lot of work to do. I don't see a lot happening at the Ministry of Planning, no, Ministry of Mines and Energy. They feel they, I saw them post group a list of fees that people will now pay if you want license. But these are minor issues. How do we really get a lot of value from the resources, and value addition is the critical thing that we need to work on. But that will have to do with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. We need to do a lot of work on the industrial side. And that ministry is the laziest ministry in Liberia. They don't do anything other than inspection of goods that are in the shops. They're not doing anything. So they need to do a lot of work. But on raising domestic revenue, I agree
Tom, they
with
can
all of you.
also release a list of prices when they don't even have control.
That list of prices can normally come from LPRC as a list of petroleum price. The minister can only sign. That ministry is, I don't know what they are doing. Even the strategy they just relayed on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is because it's a regional initiative. Where is our trade policy? We don't have any trade agreement with any country. We have a whole Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and they don't do anything on the industrial side. But to Michael's point on the issue of the special economic zone, we have a separate entity now responsible for that. It's called the Liberia Special Economic Zone Authority. And the area they have designated for that space is Buchanan, the Buchanan port. So there's a patch of land that is in that place that has been designated now as the area where
Does
we
it have
have
any
free
water?
zone. That's
They will develop it, Michael. I'll leave it.
you want me to talk?
Hey, no. I just kind of, I just pulling your leg, Chief. I just pulling your leg. But
Tom, I got one question for you before the host come in. Host, with your permission, please.
Yeah, we better want to take few calls.
Yeah.
We have
Tom,
less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, Tom, you think
Yeah.
it is wrong? You think it would be wrong for the Liberian government to initiate announcing revenue to collect in Liberia every month for us, the masses, to know? You think it's wrong?
No, that's already available. Read the LRA reports. Every year they publish a report on how much revenue they collected. That's how they are able to say to you that this year we collected more.
I know you are going to bring that.
Yeah, gentlemen, let's do this. Let's take some calls because we'll soon go off on the radio.
For the common people to read, you myself will read it. But the common people don't know. It's there.
Okay, Anthony, let's take the call. In the conclusion, we can talk about how to generate revenue.
Yeah. So let's take a few calls. James, please read the numbers out. Let's take a few calls before we leave the radio.
Okay, the numbers are 0777 959 959, 0777 959 959, 0881 871 670, 0881 871 670, 0777 959 959, 0777 959 959. Are the numbers to call? Let's hear from you on the program Focus on Liberia.
Yes, we want to hear from you. You heard all that we have discussed, and we want to hear from you. Call in right now. You heard the numbers there. Let us hear from you before we leave the radio. All right, all right, all right. I think our time on the radio is off, and we did not commit more time to callers, so it is on us. It is on us. Okay, so James, you can leave us. It is time for me. I'm about time. So,
Okay.
yep, you can get to your program. We do not want to delay the other program on the radio. So take care. We will continue our show. Let's see if our man Tom is back for us to conclude on this revenue thing, because our problem, there are two big problems we have. Of all of the other problems, uh, are we generating money enough? The LRA, the government agency that are responsible for us raising money, say yes, we are generating. In fact, they are saying we are exceeding our projection.
Yes.
We are exceeding our projection. That's why
Yes.
LRA continue to tell us we are exceeding our projection. What kind of projection are you making? Have you actually assessed the needs of this country? I mean, education alone, we need pretty close to 2 billion. If we really want to transform education, that amount might even be less. So how did you come up with this projection that, okay, we're going to raise 500 or 600 million and we have exceeded it? Why you limit yourself so much so that you will give yourself credit? And so Tom, I really don't know what informed this projection. I mean, have they really assessed how much we really need for us to transform the education sector, the health sector? Have they actually done a thorough work? I mean, roads alone, we should be talking in billions, and then the LRA will limit itself to $500 million, and then whoa, we hit 6 million, and then we're doing good. And now your national projection yearly is 1 billion. You have not even reached it. So talk to us here. You are our resident economy and make the thing simple for us.
So the overall size of our economy is our GDP, which is the gross domestic product on an annual basis, is around, I think, 4.2 or 4.3 billion dollars. So that's the cost of all the goods and services that we produce in a country on an annual basis, right? So normally, so there's this ratio we call tax to GDP ratio. So how much of that value that you create, which is the GDP, how much of it you are able to collect in taxes?
In taxes. Okay.
If you check across Africa, the average tax to GDP ratio is around 15, 16, 17%.
Okay.
There are countries like Tunisia that collect almost 30%. So that means they have a very strong tax administration system in place to be able to actually collect what is due the government. But in Liberia, our tax to GDP ratio is around 12%. So that means even the potential that we have in terms of generating revenue, we are not able to collect it because we don't have the systems in place to be able to collect it. Right? So in tax collection happens, there are two agencies in Liberia responsible for broadly taxes. The Ministry of Finance is responsible for the policy side. So to determine the tax rate as to how much you will pay, that's a policy issue that the Ministry of Finance and the legislature responsible to set that. Then the LRA will go and collect the money. So you see, for instance, goods and services tax, they say that I think now is 13 or 12%. So LRA cannot determine that. They don't have the authority to determine, but they go and collect it. So for the fact that you have that gap of 3 to 4% that you are below the regional average, it means we need to do more to collect what? Taxes. But to collect taxes also, you need money to collect the taxes. LRA needs the infrastructure in place. They need the technology in place to be able to collect it. If they don't, they will not be able to do it. Does LRA have offices across the entire country to be able to collect revenue in all of the corners of Liberia? It's not possible. So that's where you see our revenue is just around 600 million, 700 million annually, because we are not fully collecting what is due the government. And then you have issues with tax evasion. People are bringing things through the porous border, they will not pay the taxes. When you come to property taxes that you guys were talking about, globally, property taxes are not much when you look at the revenue envelope of every country. Even in the US, they are like 1%, 2%. In the EU, they hardly cross 2%. That's why in many countries, in developed countries, property taxes are devolved to local government. So like you, the place you are, you pay your property tax to your what? To your county government or your city government. And it is that money that they can take to use as what? Money for education. That's why elementary school mostly in the US is free. It's not really that the government is giving it to you free, but it's coming from the property taxes that you are paying. But in Liberia, it is still centralized. And this is why I don't understand why the president issued a directive to say,
Yeah.
there was no reason for the president to issue an executive order to say government officials should pay their property taxes, because the local government law that was passed in 2018 already says that property taxes are to be collected in the country, but they should be collected by local governments. But in the 10-year from 2018 to 2027, it says the national government will collect it on behalf of the counties and remit it to the counties. So why do you single out government officials? Because in taxation, there is something we call horizontal equity. If you and Sonny see you're doing business, you got your business, and you and myself make the same income, you got a lottery company, I'm working in a company in the agriculture sector. If we make the same salary, we should pay the same tax. So why should certain people pay? How about people in the private sector that's supposed to be paying property tax? They are not paying. The other challenge with property tax in Liberia is that the houses are not even numbered. The streets are not named. So for the revenue authority to even find the property to value it is a problem. And then we don't have valuation capacity in the country, because you need people who are trained in that area of valuation to look at the property and say, this is how much it worth, and therefore this is the tax that you need to pay. That capacity is very limited in Liberia. Now the land authority and the revenue authority are even fighting as to who should do the valuation. The other place we are losing a lot of revenue is the concessions that we have. And Senator Cornell has been talking about this. Can we review all of the concessions so that the benefits that we gave to them, the tax waivers that we gave to them in 2005 until 2010, we remove some of it. We'll be able to get money from there. You guys were talking about tourism. The biggest area we have for tourism is our forests and maybe our sea coast. But like you guys were saying, we don't have road. The tourism authority has been set up. They have put somebody in charge of it, I think, Oganugu or who. I don't really know whether he has a background in that area or that's because he has been talking about it. What is the plan that they are putting together for tourism? Still, we don't know. And this is why so our problem is technical work. For us to really sit down and dig deep into these things and work strategies is where our problem is.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, the tourism authority, I think they passed the law now. Liberia has a tourism authority, and Ambassador Chris Onunga. He is I think they were the chairman for the board, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he a Liberian?
Yes, he is a Liberian. He is a Liberian, from what I know. Yes, he is a Liberian. And so we will now be looking up to that sector because the tourism sector has a huge potential. Jamaica, for example, is raising billions. Even our own African countries here, Ghana, you're talking about Senegal is even averaging billions in terms of tourism. Ethiopia, Egypt,
Gambia.
and
The whole
Gambia.
economy of Gambia depends on tourism.
On tourism, and Tom, if you look at Liberia, our history, look at the sea, look at our rivers, look at our history. Tourism, you can't leave our history. There's a reason why somebody wants to go to France. There's a reason why somebody wants to go to England. Is the history, and we have everything. And so I hope that the tourism bureau will be able to put a tourism package together that will attract, and the government has to be involved, and especially involving our diaspora, and they need to do so we can really increase revenue. The generation of revenue in Liberia. That's the way to go, gentlemen. uh, time is fast spent. And here another thing, Tom, you talk about the technology. How are we generating or how are we raising the revenue? What what Liberian man will say mechanism. I don't know why we like this word. Why the mechanism put into place, you understand, to generate the revenue. It say, oh, you bring the money physically in your hand, you give it to somebody, the person take it and put it under the desk, but on the lobby and no camera there, this month from there. So the bucket leaking, the bucket that the money is leaking. How are citizens, businesses, taxpayers, how are we paying for these services? Are we dealing with the money, physically? Can we leave this cash, payment system, to cashless, payment options, so that the money is going into government account, directly. The diaspora, how can we find a way for a diaspora to contribute, if not on every, activity or something else, or monthly? How? Something that government can come up with for us to contribute, because we have a potential. When I interview the guy who is on this program for every Liberian, I mean, not every Liberian, it's every remittance I send to Liberia, be a Liberian, be a business, be a foreign national, $1 should be taken and put in that escrow account at his central bank. He said they asked the Central Bank of Liberia how much is being remitted to Liberia annually. According to him, the central bank said between 700 million to $1 billion every year in terms of remittance. Liberian citizens, foreign national, businesses, every single remittance being sent to Liberia every year is between 700 to $1 billion yearly. That's what he said, according to the central bank. So there's a huge potential there, and government has been missing out. These money transfer platforms, they're the one been, enjoying the money. Anytime we send, they deduct. Anytime we send, they deduct. What have our government been doing? And maybe government been getting something too, but to what extent? That's a huge potential there. So our government need to really sit down. They need to bring the technocrats together to find ways that we can increase revenue. Because the reason we're having issue with roads, because of that money. Part of it is corruption. Part of it is hiring the wrong people to do the work, people who don't have the expertise, But money is also the issue. How do we generate the money so that the bucket is not leaking? Let's close the bucket so that whatever gets in the bucket stays and then is implemented effectively. Michael, and then Dr. Male, and we close.
So I mean, look, you really made my point. We've been singing this song for many years now. That's why when people talk about the diaspora, a conference, it's something that we've all been championing. We've been trying to let the government of Liberia know, not even this administration, long before this administration, even the last administration, that the financial needs, the financial support that you are seeking, we have it here in the diaspora. We possess it. The only thing is the time, the effort that you make to run after the IMF, the World Bank, the A Bank, and all the other banks there. If you would just give half that time and that effort to pay attention to us and sell to us what you're really trying to do, we can have a great marriage between the two of us. We want to develop our country. We need to develop our country. I believe there are only 2 Liberians I have ever met who have said to me, I don't mind if I die in your country. Everybody else I have met, their plan is, when I retire, I need to go back home. Okay? And they are making strides. They are making strides to go back home. They are sending money home. They are buying land. They are trying to fix their little homes that they left back there. And they want to do something so that when they get back to that country, there's security, there's economic activity, there's healthcare. Nobody want to go back to the healthcare in Liberia right now. And so look, the government needs to get its act together. If they really want to do this, there's a proper way to do this, and they just need to embrace that. Okay? Look, if you do something and you do it well, in the end, you will get the praise, Joseph Boyka. Not in the beginning. Stop looking for praise in the beginning. Do the work. Bring the technocrats in. Let's get the work done. And then tomorrow, the songs will be sang. That Joseph Boy got time, where so and so thing happen. That Joseph Boy got time, that so and so thing happen. But you can't look for these photo apps and think that, yeah, this is the way forward. It's not the way forward. Okay, we are tired with that. We look forward to what will come out of this diaspora conference. We hope, as my other people are hoping, so we'll all join the hope train. We hope that something good will come out of it. There's much need in Liberia. We not only do we need to we have an obligation to invest in Liberia. Okay, so give us the opportunity to invest in Liberia, but let's do it the right way. And so we look forward. We sit in Minnesota. We are waiting. Hopefully, the plan is that after this conference, that there will be these micro town hall meetings and these micro conferences where the NIC boss, the minister, technocrats from whether it's the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Health or Education, that will visit us and we'll be able to lay down a plan on how we go about this. And like I said, this cannot be an annual conference. This has to be an everyday work, every single day, 365 days. Maybe annually you can't get a report, but that's about it. But I will stop there. I don't want to be the sour grapes here. But we tired. We want action now, and we look forward to it from our government. Thank you.
And Margaret, I can relate to what you're doing myself too. I feel the same way, especially for a government that was in power for 12 years and coming back. We expected that they would hit the ground running. But what I continue to see is that the government is always finding a way to create another job in government, to create another, bureaucracy, one bureaucracy.
That's right of it.
The money not there, but just creating bureaucracy. Like Tom said, the local government thing, you pass it, the only thing you implement is to just change the title of the big man. That's all. The big man gets the salary, you get a car right away, that's it. But the work that's supposed to be done for which that agency was created, the work can't get done. So then what's the point of even creating in the first place? To burden government further? And that's all we see. Dr. Malley, your final word on this one so we can go. Time is fast spent, sir.
Yeah, I think Tom just gave some very good analysis here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, but my question now is, I will come to the question later on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about time. Mike just said, this thing is, I see it to be a continual problem from government to government. Continuous problem. But here is the rumor that the port generate more than 3 million a month. I mean, someone just tried to discuss this thing with me. But my question later maybe to Tom is, does the money go straight to the Central Bank of Liberia, or does it go to the executive mansion, or does it go to the finance ministry? Because there's a alleged rumor that in the past, when Charles Taylor came, everything from the port went to his house. Then later on, the little one end up. And I learned from that time up to today, according to this source, which of course I have not investigated, but you in a discipline, they said money generated from the port can go to the executive mansion up to today. Then the balance go to central bank. Maybe you answer that question later on. But what I want to say here is that all the analysis you just made are so vital. What is the LRA really doing? Because as the host said, they have been blowing their trumpet all over the place with the projection, how much money coming in. But from your analysis, it seems to be we can even get more money, triple. But they are not working into that direction, like really getting the taxes from everywhere in Liberia. Putting no mechanism into place. You think they are just complacent about what's happening right now? We don't need all the things right now. The little we're getting now is just okay. We'll add it to the one that we borrow. You think they're really thinking because it's from government to government, from government to government, and nothing is happening. You see? So maybe you in our era, probably you can tell us what is the magic that keeping the people, because LRA can use all that money to do all that work, maybe at one point to do all the work you're just talking about, to even get more money. Why are they so complacent about the little they're just getting right now? And lastly, the issue of the diaspora, I think we all agree is a very brilliant concept. Okay, but government should get out of it. It should not be a government special project. Then there will a lot of people will be disenchanted to be part of this thing. So let's get EULA back into the picture. We can get all these satellite offices in Liberia. EULA can organize the conferences. Let's get one body. So I believe that if we get one body to speak for the diaspora, trust me, Tom, something great will happen in our country. But you see now, we get this other conference. It's a standing thing there. Yearly thing, they will be there, and they tell you how many people to go there. And there's a rumor that half of the people down there were all Congo boys or Congo related boys, all kinds of things. You see? Then you get an office sitting now in Monrovia at the executive mansion. They're doing their own thing on behalf of the diaspora. Then you get one sitting now in the foreign ministry. We will not go anywhere except we get this one body going through EULA. I believe, since EULA get her own problem, and then they get an agenda to train people for government job. We break down that barrier. We don't need that. You see, to be frank with you, EULA can create employment for itself, but EULA itself has been politicized. I think this is where now Joseph Baker came in and said, you know what? I'm not going to bother with this group. I will create my other arm to do EULA work, but it's not going to help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mali. Tom, go ahead. We need to go. Dr. Mali threw a question at you.
It is alleged, so I don't have sources, but maybe you can put light on it.
And Tom has said discuss the SOEs yet, and he broke everything down. The SOE, they are part of the problem. You know, what they contribute to, they run independently. They don't contribute much to national government. Tom, go ahead.
And Tom, before you come in, there's a joke that oh, we'll collect our revenue, but we get our latin coming from abroad, you know, so we're not worried about that. We can still use all they want to do what we do. When the grant come or IMF come in, then we'll do the job. You know, I'm constantly.
The SOEs, you know, when you born children and you got some that I don't know, they call them problem children.
Yes,
that's how our SOEs are looking. But it's not only Liberia, it's much of the developing countries, because the way they are organized is they are owned by the government and by the people of Liberia, but they are organized in such a way that they should run as a business, right? So because they are meant to run as a business, you have to pull them out of the government bureaucracy. So that's why they are not even in the national budget. Because when the national budget is passed, for you to get your money from the Ministry of Finance, sometimes it can be a challenge. Like for instance, the money that was requested by the University of Liberia recently, the minister said that it was outside their budget. So what the ministry will do, it will go in the national budget and look at the allocation to different institutions and say, what I see, we give you 400 million, but maybe you might not be able to reach the 400 million. We'll cut 100,000 from there because the University of Liberia needs it. So they will go across the budget and cut all of that money and give it to the University of Liberia because there's a crisis there. So when you do that to the SOEs, then they cannot function because they are meant to function as corporate entities. This is why they have boards. So their decision-making process is very short. If they want to make a decision on investment, their board will take the decision and then they can go ahead. So the money they actually collect is they hold the money and there's a commitment every year they can make to contribute to the national budget. So NPA, for instance, will say, if we are generating maybe 30 million in a year, we give the government of Liberia $10 million. And that $10 million actually goes to the LRA as a revenue, and it goes to the consolidated account at the Central Bank of Liberia. But the remaining $20 million, that's why the NPA can pay their staff in, they buy their vehicles. If they want to invest, like they say they want to build a new harbor or they want to do other things, that's what they do with it. So even their report, this is why you see every quarter you can see those SOE bosses going to the president, they go present their report, then they take picture, they shake hands with the president. So their reports to the president. That's how they are set up. Even except for the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation, where when they reviewed they amended their act quite recently. So the head of LWSC goes to the Senate for confirmation. But NPA, LPRC, most of these SOEs, they don't go to the Senate for confirmation. The president appoints you today, and then you go. So the major challenge we got with them is corporate governance. How they hire people. Is it competent people that are there? And then to compound that problem, when the president is this president, when they are making appointment to these boards, instead of appointing people who have the capacity to really provide leadership and policy guidance for these SOEs, the manager for the entity already is more sophisticated than the board. So instead of the board guiding the institution, they like follow the what? The managers. So in the end, they become completely unproductive. And if they cannot, LWSC, for instance, for many years, they could not even pay the salary of their staff. Then the national government had to come in to pay that salary. When they should be taking care of their business and contributing money to us, we have to come in to come and rescue them. So that's why the Bureau of State Enterprises under President Doe was set up as a decree to really manage these SOEs. Now they are trying to amend their act. Under Madam Salif, they were not active. Until the end of our administration, they became labor active and they started work under President Weah. Now they are trying to amend their act. In other countries, the institution that manages the SOEs, every year you grade them. If you don't perform, we close you down. But in Liberia, it's not that way. They just do anything they want to do. So in the end, even sometimes the money they promise to give to the national government, they will say they will pay $10 million and they will pay $2 million. What will you do with it? And the problem we face in the country is that the hell of SOEs, in many instances, they have huge political capital. You can't do anything to them. So they just run those institutions the way they want to run it, poor corporate governance. And that's where even this revenue we're talking about, we cannot generate it. I think quite recently, LRA even said that if they don't pay the money, the accounts they have, they will garnish the account. That means we'll go to the bank and take charge of that account that you get and take the government contribution from there. Because they can't pay. And where do you take them? The Ministry of Finance has fought for many years to control these SOEs. They don't come under control. They're just like you have this child that is above 18 and they do anything they want to do in the home. I think the IMF team is even in time, they are doing a governance diagnosis, and that's one area they are focusing on. Because if those SOEs, we form them to generate revenue for us. If they cannot really generate revenue for us, then for us to hit the billion is going to be a challenge.
And
So,
the
so
SOEs,
where do they send the revenue? Where they put LPR?
So when they get the revenue, when
Yeah.
they operate like a corporation, when the corporation get revenue, there is something they call retain earning. We retain this profit that we get and further invest. So if you look at NASCOP, for instance, right, like the building that LRA got to ELWA Junction, it's a NASCOP building. But NASCOP is a little different because we cut our pension and send it to NASCOP. Okay. So they do business with that pension, they make additional revenue on it, and then they pay the pension to people who have retired. So the SOEs are actually meant to promote economic growth. LWSC, for instance, they're selling water. They're supposed to sell it and make more money than they gave some to the national government. So they are not only established to generate revenue, they are also established to deliver service. But in that service delivery, you collect revenue and you give some to the government. So some of the money stays with them for additional investment. Some of the money stays with them for operation. And then some of it is related to the budget.
Let's go to NASCO. When NASCO use my money to invest and they get a lot of profit, do they add some of that profit to your money that you invested in with them? Do they add some there, or they just use it on their own?
That's all, man. We have to go.
Yeah. I think Thomas will talk about
answer your question.
Let me answer that one, then we go.
Okay.
So the issue of pension is people work for many years before they start actually getting the money that is due them, right? So the way it works is that we that work now, we pay the pension for people like you who have retired. So it's like that money that I pay for my pension, I don't need it until I turn 60. So if the institutions that manage those pensions, if they just set that money down, they say, let Thomas retire in 2040 something before we start giving him that money, then it becomes dormant. We're not making any profit on it. So that's why the welfare corporations, these social security corporation, they can then take it and invest it into other areas. For instance, LBDR, NASCOP is a shareholder in LBDR. They get money from there. They build all of these structures. They say they can build one hotel in Kanta. They get all of that money. So sometimes when the government is stranded and they need some money, like the park that President Weah built, NASCOP contributed to it. So that profit that they make, they can also contribute it either in terms of additional investment in the country to grow the economy, or they can also contribute to some other projects across the country. Okay. But your money that the percentage they will get to you, they don't have money, they say will go profit.
You don't make interest on it. That's another John, thank you so much. The SOEs, they are our problem. And they are exclusively for the president to use as he pleases. He appoints the directors, he appoints the board, they decide how much they retain for their operation, they decide how much they contribute to national government. Whether they underperform or not, at the end of the day, they go to the president, they made their report, they shake hands. Whether when they're shaking hands, something can lead there so that the president can take it easy on them, no one knows. I don't know what can happen, but they go there, they shake hands. In Liberian politics, when handshake business come in there, Michael, you know what will happen. You get the final words on the SOE thing, then we'll close the broadcast, Michael. Michael, you want to go? All right, let me leave Michael alone. Maybe he's handling business. Yeah. All right. On that note, this is how we'll come to the end of yet another edition of our program, Focus on Liberia, on Kear Radio 95.9 in Liberia. Dr. Omade, thank you so much for your contribution. Tom, our resident economist, thank you for always making it simple for all of us to understand.
You got to give me a number, Omar, because I get so many questions.
All right, that's Omade. So, Michael, thank you so much. The song that says we are all Liberians is closing the broadcast right now. Until we meet again another Saturday, it's always Focus on Liberia. Thank you and bye-bye.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.